We live in a world, guys, where lots of things are accessible, right? You can DoorDash a pizza to your house if you really, truly want to. You can get picked up in a car if you really, truly want to. You can go on your phone and see all these mansions, all these people in Hollywood, these lavish vacations, these cars, these watches, right? You can see all that, right? But we live in a world where we're told that more is the goal. We're told that a bigger house, a faster car, the newest phone, right? That's the goal. But no one really talks about just like the weight that comes with all of it, right? The anxiety, potentially the debt, the pressure to keep up, the constant comparison. I used to think success meant owning more stuff from more things, having more money. And I'm not saying that's bad, right? I want to make that clear. I'm not saying that being successful is bad. But what I realized was I also wanted peace, right? And peace doesn't always come from adding things, right? Sometimes it comes from letting stuff go or not necessarily focusing on this certain area. And the reason I'm making this video is just today I saw a commercial for it was like this car, and it's crazy all the new technology that are in cars nowadays, right? With like self-driving, all these different cameras, things of that nature. And what also prompted me to make this is I recently got a car because I had a truck, and truck was paid off, so I didn't have a payment on it. And started having a little bit of problems. It was getting up there in miles, like 150K miles. And I traded in. I got a different truck, like a newer Silverado. And I love my truck. Don't get me wrong. I love my truck, and I could afford it. Like the payment's really not too bad on it at all. It's only a couple $100 because I put a good amount down. But you know, when I was buying the vehicle, the guy was talking about like how a lot of people get warranty on these new cars because, you know, with all these new cars with new technology, he was telling me how like sometimes, you know, the digital dashboard might, you know, let's say go out, or like this wire, this thing might go bad and they'll have to replace it. And if you get the warranty, they do it for free. And he was saying that these newer cars tend to have more issues. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, first of all, you're a salesman, right? So why are you telling me that this newer car is going to have lots of issues? Like I appreciate the honesty, right, from him. He probably could have worded it a little differently, but I also just thought it was funny because you're telling me that people come in here and buy new cars all the time and they have more issues. Now, I'm not saying they're going to have necessarily more issues than like a used car if it's like old and has a lot of problems. The guy was just basically making the point that on average, since there's more parts, more wires, more components in these newer vehicles, like there is more probability that one of those could go bad or become faulty. And this, I guess, just made me realize that like we are conditioned to believe that happiness can be bought, or we're sold this dream that, you know, once you get this mansion or once you get this luxury SUV or once you get to this amount of income that you're going to be happier, right? And it's like you're almost like filling a brick with rocks or bricks. Like you're filling your life with more things and more things and more things. And you think it's going to help you necessarily climb this mountain faster. But quite frankly, it might be dragging yourself down. And that's kind of the reality I'm coming to. Like I totally believe everyone should try to make more money. They should try to have great relationships, you know, have a strong group of friends where you're close and you would never betray each other. I think if you're religious, you should be, you know, into that. You know, you should be praying, you know, and stuff like that. But I also believe that just because you have more things doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be happy. And sometimes life and society is conditioned for us to think that. And, you know, like I said, if you want a nice car, by all means, go F and buy one. I'm not saying don't, right? But just make sure it makes sense. If you buy a house, don't just buy a house so you can take a picture of it and say, we're homeowners, while holding the fucking key, and then posting on Instagram and thinking that like you're successful because other people know that you have a house. Where what they don't know is that you put only 3% down and your mortgage is fucking $2,800 a month. Like, okay, like you might look cool on Instagram, but like, are you truly going to be at peace with that decision? Right? So just make sure things make sense. Most people aren't necessarily always fully free. They're just heavily financed. Right. And like I said, if you can afford stuff comfortably for sure, and like you actually can, you know, pay for them, that's one thing. But sometimes, like I said, you have more breathing room and more freedom from just having less. And peace overall is greater than impressing people. Like I said, I think it's awesome to have nice cars. I think it's awesome to have a good house. I think it's awesome to have whatever you want in life. But I'm noticing this trend, especially in like my generation or even like people that are younger. Like I'm noticing this trend where like a lot of any money they're able to save is always put towards like this trip or like buying this and then posting it. It's like, dude, like, can you just go a single day without feeling the need to like try to flex what you have? It's just kind of cringy in my opinion. Like, I don't know, but I don't know. It's like, the old verbiage or phrase that they used to say about like the, quote unquote corporate handcuffs, right? Like someone that's making really good money in a corporate job but hates it. That's kind of how I view this, right? Most people wear the golden handcuffs of trying to impress other people. They feel like it's good to do and it gives them dopamine, and they feel like, they're trapped to do that, and they have to like, constantly keep up. You always talk to any person that's older, they'll tell you about like, keeping up with the Joneses, right? That's what we have, but 100 times worse because of Instagram, Facebook, and all these things. And, I guess I told you a personal story of myself recently of me realizing this even more. But just overall, and you guys, if you're watching this, just think about what's important to you, right? Think about if you value, income, if you value like finding a, girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, if you value wanting to buy a house, or if you value wanting to live here, like that's fine. But just think about what you personally value and let go of the unnecessary wants in your life. Do you really need to DoorDash, Chinese food to your house that's half a mile down the street, dude? Like, get in your car and just go get it. Do you really need to, buy this watch or buy these clothes? Like, do you truly want that, or are you just buying it to try and impress other people? Because if that's the case, you need to reevaluate, like, like I said, what you absolutely can't go without, and what you just, it'd be nice to have, but like, is it really worth it? And, the unexpected upside is going to be more time on your hands, more focus on what you want to do, and just real freedom to pivot or take risks in life. And overall, just better mental clarity. And I guess one last thing I wanted to harp on, which relates to this, is, I love America. I think it's a great country, but the reality of the world is like, America is good at certain things, and like we're definitely a powerhouse in certain ways. But at the same time, like I would argue that a lot of people in other countries who have less, they make less money, maybe they, don't even have their own place. Maybe they live with family. Maybe they don't have access to the same, elaborate grocery stores or restaurants. But guess what? A lot of those people are happier than the average American, right? I saw a study recently. It was talking about, I believe like the happiest countries in the world. And I don't quote me on this. So I do not remember what the top ones were, but they were talking about like other places like Finland and Sweden and all this stuff, or Iceland. And a lot of people, especially Americans, believe that we're better than other countries at everything, which, like I said, I love America. Like, I'm American for sure. But just keep in mind, like, just because like we have the most stuff doesn't necessarily mean the average American is just as happy. So the reason I bring that up is like in your own personal life, think of things that you don't need. Think of things that like you really, really, really could live without. Maybe you should live without, right? Maybe you don't need to be DoorDashing food to yourself every day. You could just pack your lunch. You could prep food, right? Maybe you don't really need to be paying for expensive Ubers all the time, right? So we think more will solve emptiness, right? We think more is going to solve our wants, or what we really, I guess, desire. But in my experience, it just fills your garage, quite frankly. It fills your soul. It doesn't fill your soul. It's like not really solving the problem, quite frankly. And having less doesn't mean you gave up. It doesn't mean that you're giving up in life, but it means that you finally choose peace over pressure. It means that you're no longer letting strangers' opinions or what other people care dictate your decisions. And that, in my opinion, is like real freedom, right? If you're still chasing more, ask yourself, like, is it making your life better or just busier? Because, like I said, it's totally fine to, want to quote unquote, like, have a goal. Like, it's like if you want to get in the gym and put on this amount of muscle, or put on 15 pounds of muscle, or if you want to go make more money, if you want to get that promotion, like, that's totally cool. And I actually encourage you to do that. Like, that's what you should be doing. But at the same time, don't think that alone is going to solve your problems or make you happier, right? So let me know in the comments. I'm like I said, I said this on the last video as well, but trying to read all of them, respond to you guys. So let me know, like, are there anyone you know that maybe is going through this, or maybe yourself? Like, is there anything that you could potentially get rid of, or something that you think, wow, like, do I really need to spend all the money or time or focus on this? Drop it in the comments. I've been reading them all, and I appreciate it, guys. And at the end of the day, we're all just trying to get better, and I wanted to paint a picture on, I guess, my opinion on that, right? Because at the end of the day, I think you guys should all go out there, kill it, and, like I said, get a better job, make more money, whatever that may be. But just keep in mind, like I said, having less can be better in some circumstances. So let me know if you resonate with this. Let me know if you want to hear other topics as well. But level up strategy out, and I'll see you in the next one.